And
All right. Hi, welcome to the newest episode of Sports Talk Central. I'm your host, Deep Mahmood, with my normal co-host Hunter. And today we're going to be talking about what the Hokies need to be focusing on during their bye week, as well as the Ravens week 2, week 3, what we saw in week 2 and what we think they should be working on in week 3, and then some notes on a few players from the Orioles with let me just first start with this one. I'll start with what they should focus on. So a week ago they honestly blew a chance to beat West Virginia, and
they
then
they should they should have won that game. They easily should have.
and when we get to that point, I'll get to that reason why I think something they could have done, especially in the red zone. And then I think they barely beat Richmond. Here's what I'll say. With the West Virginia game, it was interesting. I think I was texting you about this. Like Blumrick a lot on short yardage situations, and I get it. You lost James Mitchell, but you used Connor Blumrick a ton against Middle Tennessee, and then again in Richmond with that, especially with that drive in the fourth quarter. Why Fuente didn't go ahead and just use the QB run with Blumrick against West Virginia? Because you just really needed what 3 yards per play. You didn't. It wasn't
Was
like
it first and goal from the 4 yard line? I'm pretty sure
something
they
like
had.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was first and goal from the 3 or 4. Yeah, why are you like that? Should have been an easy call for one of the plays.
Even if it was obvious, like I understand the idea. Uh, oh yeah, Blumrick is in the game. Oh, this is what they're going to do. I get that, but Connor Blumrick is also 6'4", 6'5", fast, and if you put in the right guards or right tackles, he can easily go through them. And like I said, you need 5 yards essentially. Like you literally that was possible. Now, here's my issue with what Tech has been doing. They've either been playing scared or they've been playing cute. And now the problem is when they're playing cute or when they're playing risky, it's not like they're throwing the ball down the field. It's we're gonna bring in Knox Kadum like in the game today. Knox Kadum on at the 5 yard line when they didn't need to. The thing they need to focus on is your strengths is Braxton Burmeister as an athlete. Like maybe not treat him as a quarterback, but treat him like an athlete who plays the quarterback. You know the difference, right? Like
Yeah,
treat him like an athlete who plays the quarterback position instead of a quarterback who happens to be an athlete. There is a difference.
not like Taysom Hill situations.
Yeah, but here's the thing though. Trey Turner, Tavian Robinson, those are solid 1 and 2 receivers.
Yes.
And then Caleb Smith, like if you see them being used more in the passing game, especially even if it's like down the field, like middle of the field, because I think that we saw what Trey Turner
Mhm.
can catch the ball. His jump ball ability is really great. And Tavian Robinson, if you can get a punt return for a touchdown, if you can get yards on special teams, that means you're great in the open space. And then Caleb Smith, he's a good third target. I mean, if you can get Tavian and Trey working with the athleticism of a and the versatility of with a Blackshear, or yeah, Blackshear, then Caleb Smith can then feast at certain points. Like you see what I'm saying? Like now those smaller pieces can now find their ways in. I just I just don't I just thought it was a little weird that Trey Turner hasn't been used that much. And it's not like Trey. I mean, Trey's more than likely going to leave for the NFL after this year anyway. You
Yeah.
don't have James Mitchell, so why not just lean in with
What,
what
what
you have?
what I don't understand is when they're on offense, right? It's just they can't run the ball against an FCS school that JMU could probably beat by 60. You get 100 yards. You have Raheem Blackshear back there, Jalen Holston, and you're telling me you can't get a push up front? I mean, they're running that fake punt from midfield when they're up 7 points. Like, there's a time and place, excuse me, to call that, right? It's
Right.
not up seven. You can be up by 21. Okay, ha ha ha, the game's over. But, you know, when you're struggling to put a team like that away, I don't know, man. This is year 6 of this staff. I like what the defense has been doing. I really like Justin Hamilton. I think he's coaching his tail off this year. I really like his staff. But this is year 6 of the offensive staff, and you're putting up 14 points against an FCS school, and you're the coach, and you're saying, like, oh, might be the best passing attack we've ever had for as long as I've been here. What's going on? Is it execution? Is it the play calling? I mean, you know my thoughts on Brad Cornelson. He needs to be fired. I think he's terrible at I don't think he preps well at all. I don't think he calls good plays. I don't think he knows how to adjust to what another team is doing during a game. But something is off here. And it's insulting to the fan base to continually watch this slop every single week. This is a team that you should be blowing out by probably, I think, 30 to 40 points. I think I agree with you with what you said as well. You're either coaching scared or you're being too cute against a team where you shouldn't be being cute against. You should just try to run it up like you saw Pitt do today against, I don't even know who they played, but they won 77-7. Obviously, you're not going to win games like that all the time, but this should be a team that you put up 50-something points against, 45, 48, something like that. But you're only putting up 14 on offense, and it takes a special teams play to put you in the lead, and that's your game winner. I mean, something's up, man. I mean, it's not fun to watch. December can't come soon enough because I think I and a lot of other people who've watched this program for a while are just tired of it. They have to work on a lot of things during the bye week. You have Burmeister, plenty of throws out there, wide open receivers. He's missing them by like 5-10 yards. It's like, where is the consistency here? You have a good throw to Turner. He makes a heck of a catch. And again, I agree with you there, man. Why is he not being utilized more? He's your top guy.
In the middle of the field, especially in the middle of the field.
Yeah. And this was only his third 100-yard game. And he's a senior, right? Or is he a junior this year?
One of those.
And it's like, you should be feeding
well,
this
because you
guy.
got to remember last year, I don't think, depends on whether last year counted.
Yeah, and then, again, no matter what, this should be a guy that you're feeding every game. He makes the contested catches every time you throw it to him. Why they don't use him more, I'll never understand. It's just the offensive line is really bad. I don't know. I'm sure you watched that today, Adi. That was horrendous to watch. They couldn't even move an FCS front back at all. I mean, you're rushing for barely 100 yards against them. That's really pathetic, at least in my opinion. But I mean, they have a lot of things to work on. The fan base, I would say, is pretty sick of this. But I don't know. I mean, I'll say this to end this. They play like they played today the rest of the season, they won't win another game. I will die on that hill. But
yeah, no, yeah.
Again, I mean, but again, the defense is really good. I've really liked that through 4 games. Justin Hamilton is coaching his tail off. The secondary is really good. The linebackers are great. Defensive line is a little small, but they're getting the job done. That unit is fine. I have no problems with them. My problems, and the special teams have been good too. My problems are with, I've been talking about this a lot. It's the offensive side of the ball. This would be a great time to maybe make a coordinator change, but I guess he's just going down with his ship. If you have any other thoughts, you can share them for what I say.
I think the big thing is consistency, right? Because I think here's the thing. I think the biggest issue with Brad Cornelson is, I don't think you mentioned it, but like when you think about it, your game plan is geared to who your personnel is, right? Like, for example, you don't run the Tom Brady offense with Lamar Jackson. You don't run the Greg Roman offense with Tom Brady, right? Because Tom Brady doesn't fit with Greg Roman. Tom Brady's strengths are not Greg Roman's strengths. So that's the big thing here, right? Like I said before, who do you have? You have Jaden Payo, a speedster. You have Tavian Robinson. What is he good? If you can put him in space, if you can give him 4 or 5 yards, he can make guys miss. What about Trey Turner? Oh, he's big, he's fast, he can get those contested catches.
Yes.
And then he's very athletic. All right, Burmeister's athletic, but his arm is not that great, right? His arm's not that great. So what do? All right, we're going to put our receivers in positions where their speed and their size and their ability in space can now be utilized to their full advantage. And you don't need a complex game plan to do that. It's more so of we're more focused on using what you're good at to fit what our offense is. And when we have all these pieces where well turns out one guy's strength is going to minimize another guy's weakness. So it's more like a puzzle piece all coming together. And I think that it's the consistency, it's the smaller details. It's very rigid, and I think it's more so of Cornelson and Fuente. What they're doing is their offensive plan, and you've heard people heard this saying in multiple aspects, which is you're putting a square peg in a round hole, right?
Yeah.
You're essentially putting a square peg in a round hole. Tavian Robinson, most of his impact should not be the majority 90% of his impact should not be on his impact should be on the RPOs. Like I was watching the Wake Forest game and they do a lot of like paused RPOs where they slow down the RPO like at the mesh point they slow it down and they speed up the pace. Like they should do something where Blackshear can get the ball and then they have Tavian Robinson kind of running like a slant route in the middle of the field. So now it's Braxton can run, Blackshear can either pass block and then chip and go and be open on one side, and then Tavian Robinson or like Tavian Robinson kind of be in the middle or Caleb Smith, and then you have Trey Turner on the outside. So now you have just for making that one adjustment, now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 options. So now what is the defense going to do then? I just think that they have the athleticism. They don't have the they have let me really put it this way you have the tools, but you don't have the right tool maker, right? And that's my thing. That's I think that's what they need to work on. Build the game plan to the strengths of the players, and the offense is going to come more naturally because you have the players rather than what the coach is trying to tell you to do. So I think to me, we'll end the Virginia Tech section there. That's what they need to do. Look at the strengths of their players and use that to dictate your game plan, not the other way around. Because that you're going to see what you see here. It's going to be rigid. You're going to see drive where it's really good, drive where it's horrendous, and then it's well, what is that pivotal drive, and whether it's in the high part or the low part. And I think that you're right. Cornelson, I think Cornelson does need to go. I think that you need a guy who can do that. Now, the tough part is who's going to be that offensive coordinator, who's going to be the head coach, and there's a bunch of other questions there. So we'll move on to the next one, which is Ravens and Steelers. Ravens, obviously, well, let's just talk about the Steelers first because Ravens will be a little bit
Yeah,
longer.
the Raiders game was a bit tough. It was frustrating to just they were down half their defense. I know you're not going to get any. We're not going to get any sympathy from you. Your team is dealing with a lot of issues right now, but we are almost just as banged up or close to it. We were down 5 or 6 defensive starters in that game. Offense was a bit more healthy, but still, it's kind of been the same offense as last year, which I didn't expect because I thought Matt Canada would be a lot better, but he's still, I guess learning the reps of the NFL. But Ben hasn't really looked that great. It's just very vanilla. I think they're trying to do what's the word I'm looking for? I feel like they're trying to do too much when they should just, get back to basics a little bit. They don't feed Pat Freiermuth enough. He can basically make any catch in the world. He does not hardly drop a pass at all. Obviously, what Juju is. He's going to truck over people. Chase Claypool needs to make a few more contested catches. They're using Najee a little bit more in the passing game, which is nice. But the offensive line is going to get Ben killed out there. That's the biggest thing that we all talked about in the offseason. Was they got to upgrade the line. They drafted a center, but he's a bit too small right now. But we'll see if he puts on some weight and improves. But it's no wonder that Ben is already a bit hurt already in this season because he's just getting hit almost every play. He's probably going to get hit the most amount in his career this year if this keeps it up. Defensively, I felt bad last week. I thought they were doing their best that they can. Obviously, it's not ideal when you make it 16-14 and you have a 3rd and 10 and you're about to get the ball back and there's the potential that the Steelers could drive down the field right there. It's not ideal that you give up a 55-yard pass play to Henry Ruggs. And I will say this, I'll eat some crow a bit on Derek Carr. I didn't think he was that good. had a really good game last week, has looked pretty good through 2 games. I did not expect that for him. I thought he was kind of washed up until this point, but he's really had a good start. I really think that Raiders team is a bit underrated. I didn't expect much from them this year, but they have a decent defense. They have good weapons on offense. I was definitely surprised by them. Some people were saying that this was a trap game that the Steelers lost. I don't really see it that way. I thought the Raiders went in and played a pretty good game. It was just, the same issues kind of from last year have boiled over into this year with the offensive play calling, the offense in general, which is just too stagnant. Ben's not playing his best football. The offensive line has been bad. They haven't had a lot of sustained drives. They need to run the ball a lot better and try to get some holes open with the offensive line. They play the Bengals this week. They should be able to win that game with how well they've played against the Bengals overall in years past. But, the Bengals are also a bit more improved this year, so we'll see. They're also down TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith, but Devin Bush, Joe Hayden are back. So a soul for a soul, as Thanos says. Melvin Ingram will be starting in some guy by the name of Jameer Jones, who I think was elevated either from the practice squad or he is their 4th string outside linebacker. So that's going to be a real treat to watch. Hopefully TJ Watt will be healthy going into the game against Green Bay.
You guys got Quincy Rochayers, or was that another team?
We did. I think he's on the practice squad or he was cut. One of the two. They did not. I think he actually might have been cut, if I'm not mistaken. But it was just a frustrating loss last week. Everyone's 1-1 now. The division's far from over. It stunk to see the Ravens win that game against the Chiefs. And, I will say this. I always have been a Mike Tomlin fan. What he did in that game was cowardly. You preach it to all the media and the fans. We don't live in our fears. We don't live in our fears. Yet in the 4th quarter, when you're trailing by, I want to say it was 9 points, 4th and 1 from your 45-yard line, you have a 6'5", 240-pound quarterback, and you're basically just conceding the game. What's going on here? Put him under center, run a sneak. He will get it. He literally can fall forward and get a yard. He is 240
pounds. Just put Frymouth under center, and then have him move forward. Like the guy is 6'7", or no? No.
He's big, but Ben's, like I said, he's 6'5", 6'6". He's 240 pounds. Maybe he's a little slimmer at this point. He can get a yard or not even a yard. It's not hard. I don't know why they decided to do that. You saw the difference with John Harbaugh asking his quarterback if he wants to go for it. Ben Roethlisberger said after the game that there's really little much I could do because the punt unit was already coming out. I didn't have a say. That speaks volumes, I think. If you're
Harbaugh was going to go for it. Like Harbaugh was going to go for it. He just wanted to confirm with Lamar.
It's just the context of it. You see him asking his quarterback if he wants to go, even though he was going to do it anyway. And Mike Tomlin's not even doing that. And then Ben says after the game that, I don't really have much of a say when the punt team is coming on the field. That's a little bit of a problem. This guy's been here for 18 years. You should honestly be asking him if he wants to go for it in a situation like that. That's your franchise player. So I don't really understand that logic at all. That was very cowardly, very stupid. He did a very similar thing in the Cleveland playoff game. He needs to be learning from these situations. If you're not learning from that, then you just become stale and stagnant. And that's not what any Steeler fan wants to see. And that's why you see a little minority of the fan base want Mike Tomlin gone, is because stuff like that happens and he's not good in, late game situations. So hopefully he does learn from that. I've always said I'm a fan of him, but that can't happen in a game like that. You're conceding the game when you punt the ball away down 2 scores. Sorry. That's when you play to win the game. That is the nature of sports. You play to win. You don't play to lose and rely on your defense or whatever this other stuff. The defense got the stop, but at what cost? You could have just went for it and continued the drive. I saw the Ravens do have some COVID issues indeed. I think Brian Williams and Justin Houston, a couple others. So that's not good going into. Go ahead. I saw that was just that's not the greatest news going into your matchup.
Well, no, first we're going against Detroit. So, it's not.
It is the Lions. Yes, it is them.
Yeah. So, and if there is and I'll get to the Lions preview a little bit later. But to conclude your point on the 4th and 1, I think Sunday Night Football did some numbers, and they said if they punted the ball, the Ravens would have had a 60%. chance of winning, let's be honest, 20%. If they went for it and they were stuffed, they lose the game. So yeah, they had to go for it. Harbaugh wanted to go for it, and Lamar definitely wanted to go for it. I mean, the Ravens have always been they've been upfront about their use of analytics. I mean, it
Yeah.
cost them it did cost them the game a few years ago against the Chiefs where they went for two, three times and failed. They also did go for two or three times on Sunday, and they had one should have worked. Whoever was 90, number 9, Kevin Zeitler, a half yard into the end zone. So they converted the 2-point conversion, but then they called Kevin Zeitler an ineligible man down the field when he was pushed half a yard more. And granted, we know they won, but still, 38-35, 36-35, that makes a difference. I think that I wasn't a big fan of. Now, the other point was that they were going to do this, and for those who are fans of who have seen the Wire, the show The Wire from a long time ago on HBO, that was set in Baltimore, and one of the main actors, Michael K. Williams, unfortunately passed away. His character on The Wire, he played one of the more famous characters, Omar. And Omar, he would do this like I don't know if you saw this or on Twitter, but he would whistle. Like he would do this whistle where the character street and he would whistle, but he was like this big he was this intimidating character in that universe. So anytime you heard that whistle, you can look it up on YouTube, everyone just ran. It's like, oh, like you hear that and like everyone just ran. So it was really great to see them before the pregame play that whistle. And it is so intimidating, especially in that stadium with all those speakers. It's Farmer of the Dell. It's I can't whistle, so I can't imitate, but here I want them to do it every primetime game. Like just it is scary. Now, I thought that what they did against the Chiefs was great. They didn't run cover zero. They didn't give up on the pass. They broke tendency. I thought that was great. What I really liked is Odafe always showed why he was that first round pick, and a lot of people are saying why they were covering. Well, how are you going to cover Travis Kelsey? So apparently, NFL Network they showed that what they did was, and this was mostly Odafe most of the time, he would chip Travis Kelsey, and then he would go after blitz Mahomes. And so the logic is, Mahomes obviously he reads the defense pre-snap, then he reads the defense post-snap. But where it gets tricky is Odafe, when Mahomes is reading that defense the second time, Odafe always or whoever it is guarding Kelsey. It looks like they are going to cover Kelsey like in man coverage. But what happens is they're going to chip Kelsey, and now it's zone coverage, Travis Kelsey, and then that guy, and most of the time it was Owe, now becomes an unchecked blitzer. So now you have the offensive line looking at, okay, so it's 4-man blitz or 5-man blitz, but it's actually if it's a 4-man blitz, now it's a 5-man blitz. If it's a 5-man blitz, it's now a 6-man blitz, because now Odafe now is that unchecked blitzer who can go after Mahomes, and maybe he doesn't get the sack, but he disrupts Mahomes' timing. So when you see that interception, Mahomes, and then he just sneaks up, and then as Mahomes tries to hero ball it, Odafe tackles him in the knee, and then tackles him, and then that directs the ball. Like if the ball was going like this, it gets the ball going like this, like this. So then what that does is that caused the interception. So it was really creative what they were doing here, how they kind of did keep tendency with Kansas City, but they didn't. And it'd be really interesting to see if the Chargers use. So Anthony Averett's getting a contract with someone. Anthony, because let me like when you hear this, Tyreek Hill. No, okay. By the way, no Jimmy Smith, no Marcus Peters, right? Tyreek Hill was held to, and then Deshaun Elliott left the game with a concussion. Okay, Tyreek Hill's left was held to 3 catches, 14 yards.
That is crazy. I don't know how that happened.
But yeah, Averett did a really good job of keeps up with. Well, what they did was they actually had like multiple people, and that at the start of the game, that did kind of bite them in the back because Mahomes was able to go to Pringle and go to Blake Bell and go to Demarcus Robinson for those other options, but they did a good job of keeping those guys there. Now, I like that they kept with the run. They just kept running the ball over and over and over again. And Alejandro Villanueva played really bad at right tackle in week 1. Apparently, PFF said that his score was like a 20 or 30. His PFF score against Kansas City was 90.
That's so very surprising.
So, but it's also interesting. It's like, wow, you move a guy. First of all, wow, don't like. I think a lot of Raiders fans want to cut Villanueva after week 1. Maybe wait a little bit and maybe moving back to obviously Ronnie Stanley getting hurt or not being 100% necessitated to move for Villanueva to be the left tackle. But you could tell that was his more natural pace. Played a lot better. Bozeman's continuing to play well. Macari is short, smaller for a right tackle, but he's not bad. I'm not on the. There's been this debate among Ravens fans of when Ronnie Stanley does get back healthy, what do you do with Villanueva? Because Villanueva clearly is better left tackle than right tackle. Ronnie Stanley, I don't think will agree to move to right tackle. But then again, you could probably move Villanueva as a swing tackle. Depends a lot on Macari. So there's a lot of good to happen in that game. I had no problem with Lamar flipping into the end zone. There's a lot of people that had an issue with that.
Yeah, don't mind those boomers. Guys having fun. I don't really know why people get mad about that. I will say, I think Andy Reid overthought it at the end of the game. Why are you running the ball there? You put the ball in the best player's hands. The Chiefs likely win that game. Kudos to Owe for, just stripping that ball right out of Clyde Edwards-Helaire's hands. It was just a very stupid play call, I thought, by the Chiefs. I actually thought they would not do something like that. When you're down like that, I don't really care if you're driving. You put the ball in the best player's hands. I thought that was just really dumb by the Chiefs. But Ravens took advantage of that, and then they knew not to give the ball back to him because that probably would have backfired.
Yeah, and then now they play against Detroit. It's gonna obviously Detroit has T.J. Hawkinson. He's really good. They have DeAndre Swift. Jared Goff is okay. Like he's good but not great. Looks like Jimmy Smith is coming back for this game. So it's gonna be interesting to see what they do. The run game, I anticipate them doing a lot of stretch runs because Detroit is bad against outside runs. Lamar is great against outside runs. I think it's gonna be fine. It's gonna look great. I don't think this is a trap game. I know people say Jackson 5 passes against multiple teams in 2019. I don't think this is a Jackson 5 type of game. I think this is like a 31-17, like 31, 35, 17 type game where they're going to just pound the rock, especially with a few guys on the D line not going to play. They're just going to just run the ball down the throat of Detroit over and over and over again. And then occasionally take shots down the field. So that's what I think. I think 31-17 Steelers Bengals.
The Steelers should probably. I think they'll win by a touchdown at most. They just know how to play Cincinnati, especially in Pittsburgh. They haven't really, knock on wood, they haven't lost them in Pittsburgh in I think 5 years, something like that. But first time. There's always a first time for everything. I think the Steelers, even though they won't have Watt or Highsmith, they should still be able to win this game, especially with Hayden and Bush back. That's just huge for them. And Melvin Ingram is also really good as well. If the offense comes alive a little bit, they make some improvements. Should be able to win this game.
Yeah, so we'll just end a couple notes here. Obviously Juan Soto deserves this is more baseball segment. Juan Soto deserves to be mentioned more in the MVP.
He is
But
he is unreal right now, man. He gets on base. He had a 12-game on base streak. He's been hitting home runs basically on a nightly basis. People need to stop pitching to him, and it really stinks that this team is so bad because he's had an incredible season. You could pay him right now, it would not be enough.
yeah, and then in a similar case to Juan Soto, Cedric Mullins, if he was on a winning team, he would be in the MVP race, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah,
yeah, and so he became the first ever Oriole to have a 30-30 season and had 30 home runs and 30 stolen bases in a single year. And I could see multiple players give up switch hitting after the year Cedric Mullins has. And to keep this in perspective, 30 home runs, 30 stolen bases. He's batting over 300, has 36, like 59 RBIs, but he's a leadoff hitter. Like, how many RBIs could you expect him to have? And I mean, it kind of does suck a little bit that the Orioles aren't that good because, like I said, Cedric Mullins is an MVP, is playing at an MVP level. Um, it's just incredible because a year ago I would have been completely fine with DFAing Cedric Mullins. Now I'm saying give this guy an extension because I think he is a smart hitter and I think his skills translate more long term than a guy like Chris Davis. And Michael Ice had made comments about how Grayson Rodriguez, their top pitching prospect, and that he could start. There's a chance he could start the year in Double A, in the majors. I don't buy that. He finished the year in Double A. I think 50, 60 innings in Triple A, and then he'll be in the majors by June of next year. Richmond might be up there next year, so it's gonna be interesting to see. And then the last thing I'll bring up is Ryan Mountcastle. He's an underrated choice for Rookie of the Year. I think he has like 31 home runs right now, 31 RBIs. He's been probably their second best bat in a lineup, and if they can keep Mancini extended, because I think Mancini's going to be better next year, man, that lineup, like Richmond being the number one prospect in all of baseball, you now have Cedric Mullins, Ryan Mountcastle.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, like you have the makings of a good lineup there. And even guys like Kyle Stowers, who has like 27, 28 home runs this year, and then Robert Newstrom, um, Gunnar Henderson, Jordan could be good in a couple 2 or 3 years. And I just want to see the morons like Buster Olney keep using that same energy right now because like yeah, so he recently because he's been trashing the Orioles on Twitter.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, and then basically he's saying, well, if you bought a season like this is what he said, if you bought a season ticket you would be investing more into the Orioles. Like, no, they're going to be paying their guys. Like, they're going to be paying their guys. Don't worry about that. And then some of the Diamondbacks because the Diamondbacks haven't been good. And then I'm not kidding. Buster only said, "Well, the Diamondbacks signed Madison Bumgarner to a 5-year deal. They're trying to win." You mean the Madison Bumgarner who's at a 5 ERA, not helping the Diamondbacks win? I mean, you could say that the Orioles signed Chris Davis. I mean, Chris Davis wasn't helping them win. Ubaldo Jimenez wasn't helping them win even more than he didn't provide that much value. Andrew Kashner, no value. Mark Trumbo, no value. The Orioles have spent money. They spend money smarter and actually invest in their farm system. I just don't like seeing these guys trash on rebuild when they're being hypocritical when they're saying that other teams like the Diamondbacks, well, they're trying, but they aren't winning. So you can
yeah.
argue the other way. So that's kind of how it works. And that's how we'll end the show. Next week we should have another episode recorded next
I
week.
think I think next week, Saturday, I'm going up to Philly for this second wedding in 4 weeks. We might have to do something a bit
Right,
beforehand, if in the
recording
evening, if
sometime in the
possible.
evening. Yeah, yeah. Like evening times will work best for me because I'm busy during the daytime. So we'll schedule that off camera. We'll schedule when that time would be. But we should have a new episode next week. We'll talk about week 3. We'll preview the Tech Notre Dame game, and then we'll see if we'll we'll preview the MLB opening playoffs because they'll start soon.
Right, yeah.
Um,
But we'll hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully we will do something this coming week. I'm sure we will, and I can't wait to talk more.
All right.